All right, go ahead and introduce yourself with any information that they might need about you.
All right, I'm Owen Reinke. I run the 76th Street stock at Butler Motor Speedway, based out of Tecumseh, Michigan. Um, started racing in 23, I think it was.
All right, where did you finish? If you remember, where did you finish in points last year at Butler?
The 25 season?
Yeah, no, 24.
24.
Yeah,
24, I think I wound up eighth.
I would say 25 season didn't go quite as planned.
No, it wasn't. It started off pretty decent. I had high hopes for it, and then, well, you know, you got it on video.
It's got
It took
about got about 25,000 views on my TikTok page. Probably about 50,000 views overall across all three of my platforms.
Yeah, it even got brought up. I don't remember the name of the show, but it got brought up by somebody else too that was at Butler that night. And I remember I didn't even know the guy was there. I just got tagged in it a bunch, not like a few days after that when he aired it. So that was kind of funny. He cracked a little bit of a joke about it, and
Yeah, do you know what happened? Like, did anything like break on? Like, did anything break or anything that made you do that? Or
so if I remember right, we were just starting the heat race,
mm,
and
I think it was second lap because I didn't get the whole thing because you had kind of gotten back. I think you were in like third or fourth to start. And I usually with the heat race, I start up front and then I'll move to the back. Well, I started up front and then I saw somebody sitting right next to me point over to the corner because I was probably about. They were probably just about to like where that building is in the infield on the backstretch. They were just about to there. I saw somebody go like this, and I turned, and I literally saw it like right as you went over the edge. I didn't see
yeah,
what happened leading up to it. I just saw. Actually, I think if I remember right, can't remember who it was. It might have been Mannix Burkwan's brother that got the whole thing. I saw a video of like what happened before. Somebody else got it, but I didn't. I got it like right as you went over the hill.
so there was two videos that I had seen. There was yours, which you couldn't really see it super great because it looked like you were sitting at the bottom of the stands. One of the Morleys, because that's who I saw.
That might have
That's
been
what
who
it was.
that might have been who I saw. Who I saw.
Me, me and Dwayne Morley started on the front row of that race, and I told myself he wasn't going to beat me into the corner. Well, I had it floorboarded going into one and two, and when I lifted, the gas pedal didn't come up; it stuck to the floor.
Oh yeah, that's never good.
Nope.
I've definitely
So
I've definitely seen that happen a couple times, and it usually doesn't end up very well.
no, and I really had. I mean, by the time I was ready to lift, anyways, we were already into the corner. So I really only had two options: either shut it off and risk a motor, or take the ride and see if it lands or rolls or whatever. And well, obviously you saw what I chose.
Which I mean,
Did not expect that.
comparably with how some rollovers are, I feel like I'd probably rather take the chance of rolling the car over than blowing the motor up because I feel like
Well,
it'd
I'll
probably
tell you
be
what.
a little bit better if you just damage the car rather than blow the motor up.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's the difference between $10,000 or $2,000, and I think I chose the cheaper of the two options, thankfully.
Because with how a lot of the cars are built now, I've seen quite a few rollovers that most of the time can end up just being a lot of cosmetic damage or just some front end parts rather than a $10,000, $20,000 motor.
Right, and I'll tell you, a lot of people have said it to me after the fact of that. That's probably one of the worst rollovers I've seen at Butler. Next to the, oh gosh, years ago. I wasn't even around there then. A guy drove off about in the same spot I did and drove clear across Clarendon Road and parked in in that bank over there. And I think that's probably, there's
See, I've
another one.
I've always imagined that kind of scenario happening, like because there's people that drive down that road the entire time the race is going on. I just want to imagine being somebody, and like you're just driving down this road at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then you just see a whole entire race car just go across the road right in front of you.
I'll tell you what, that would probably be pretty sketchy to see. From both points of view, obviously you can't really see much in the race car, but you can see enough. And if I were even in the race car and had that happen and I seen a car coming at me on Clarendon Road, I would say, oh crap, this isn't good. But
Because
I
I think you're only one of three cars that I've ever seen successfully make it to the trees, and the other two were off of the backstretch where it's not extremely necessarily hard to make it to the trees.
right, yeah, I chose probably
And
the
both of the other cars I saw going to the trees were sprint cars, so it's
right,
probably a lot easier for them to get out into the trees than a street stock or a four cylinder.
right. Well, I just proved to everybody that you don't necessarily need a wing to roll them over, I suppose.
No, surprisingly, I think I've actually in the 2 years we've gone to Butler now, I think I can genuinely say I've seen more rollovers from like the street stocks four cylinders and modifieds than I have with sprint cars. The sprint cars seem to be the only class that doesn't have as many cautions or reds as everything else.
And it's funny you say that because when I first started going around there, that's majority of the rollovers were in the sprint. So it's funny how you kind of say, you see the opposite in a few short years where back
Especially
before I started racing, it was different.
especially four cylinders. Four cylinders. I'm convinced half of those guys don't have any regard for human life. Like,
That's a pretty rowdy bunch. I can about, when normally we would be just before the four cylinders, where this year they were rolling us out last. So that was kind of, you could about take a nap waiting on those guys. It's kind of nice because you could
I've heard that from
relax
a
for
few
a little bit.
people.
So yeah, it was
I heard that from a couple four cylinder guys when they would sit and wait for the modifieds to get done. Because it seems like it kind of like alternates. Sometimes they've got really good. Sometimes they get really good luck with the cautions. Like sometimes there will be a mod race that'll only run like three cautions and 20 laps, but then there'll also be other races that the mod features will run 15 cautions and 20 laps, and it feels like they're running a caution every other lap.
right. Yeah, I I'll tell you what though, when all things go well and they can run a straight 20 laps or at least close to it without having a caution, it is a good race. I mean, we have a very stout field of cars in every class there, and they're fun to
Mm.
watch. It's just the cautions. If you could eliminate some of them, I mean, you would have good racing
Well,
every
because
week with limited cautions.
the problem that I've seen is especially with guys like Todd and Mannix, they get a lot of their wins off of building momentum. And if they can't build momentum because of cautions, then most likely they're not going to be able to get around whoever's in front of them.
Right.
Because
Yeah, momentum and
Mannix and him, like every single race I've watched them win, they win it with at least like 7 or 8 laps building up to the finish.
right. Yeah, momentum I would say is a big thing. Like I've even learned that. I would say momentum and patience. If you're not patient, you can't win a race on the first lap, and that's the biggest thing I always try to remind myself is sometimes I just need to be more patient and lay off the gas a little, and I find myself actually doing better than I would if I just didn't think about trying to win.
Yeah, and Butler with how high banked the corner is, I've seen a couple people attempt to win on the first lap. Butler's not a very good place to try to win on the first lap
No, it
because
usually doesn't go over very well.
because there's like whenever anybody goes over that bank, like everybody just automatically assumes their head like yeah he probably flipped the car over because I've actually walked up there. One of the last nights we stayed until like I think like 30 minutes an hour after the races. I walked up. I never realized until I actually started going down there like when I was getting like victory lane pictures and stuff. I never realized like how steep the track is. The final
Yeah, so
night,
it is.
the final night I had walked behind Nathan Owens because we were walking back to the pits because we were going to talk to a couple people. Yeah, I never realized how much of an incline it was. Like
It
that's
is
what like
steep.
man,
Like
I need to start doing some cardio if I want to start running up and down this thing.
sitting in the stands and looking down at the track, it does not look as steep as it really is. When you're driving on the track under pace, obviously, because when we're on the gas, our cars are like hiked up and kind of,
Mm.
I almost say stay level when they're hiked up through the corner, so you can't really tell then how steep it really is when you're on the top of the racetrack looking down. But it is really steep. Like when they water the track, it's kind of fun under caution or whatever because you kind of start sliding down it a little bit and stuff. But yeah, it is a really steep place. It's definitely the highest banked racetrack I've ever seen. I mean, I guess there's Spoon River, which I've never been there, but I guess I've heard a lot of like the Summer Nationals guys compare Butler to that just because of the banking and
Mm.
about the same size and stuff. But
And Butler, for what I've seen, Butler also seems like one of the fastest tracks that we go to because we go to a couple. We go to like Butler, Montpelier, Oakshade. I think we went up to Mount Pleasant in 23, if I remember correctly. I've never been to Eldora. I want to go to Eldora. Outside of, well, I went to Eldora when I was like 3 years old because my brother ran go karts at Little Eldora. But I've never actually gotten to like go for like a regular race, and that's something that I want to try to do next year is travel around.
It's it's funny you say that. I kind of intend on doing the same thing with the car. I always have high hopes when I start. I always intend on running for points at Butler, and next year I don't think I'm going to do that. I mean, I'm going to race there most of my season, but I'm going to try to travel more. I think it was the second week of race season last year. We went down to Montpelier, and I really liked it there. I was just that place beat me up. I was out of shape. It's a lot shorter.
Mm.
I definitely a fun and fast track to drive on for sure. So
It's
I'm
gotten a
gonna,
lot
I'm gonna
better with the new ownership and promoter. Because I used to go there, and I didn't necessarily like it because the track prep would always like it'd be on and off. It'd be kind of iffy. Um, and they never really like the bleachers were falling apart, all that stuff. The milkman came in and he put all new boards on most parts of the bleachers. The craziest thing I've ever seen, I witnessed the milkman do a board bleacher repair mid heat race. Like one of the boards snapped, and I looked down under a caution. They were literally sitting there putting a whole new board in while the heat race was going on, and I don't think I've ever seen a racetrack do that before.
Yeah, no kidding. The other cool thing, I'm glad you brought him up because the cool thing, the one time I went down there, it's funny. We went to the drivers' meeting and he was there and led the meeting, and then next thing you know, I went and watched the mod heat races. Well, shoot, he was out there racing
Mm-hmm.
when I was there too, so that's kind of cool. Like that's something you don't really. It'd be kind of cool to see at Butler because I miss watching Tim race. But I mean, how neat is that to see the guy that's running the place also jump in a car and drive there? I mean, that's talk about already having your hands full and then you're doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I think it was what was it? It was one night. I can't remember if it was the first night of the Monster Mash. Um, Tim Wilbur actually drove Andrew Hollister's modified at Montpelier one of the days this year while we were there. I can't remember if it was either when they ran the midgets, or it was for the Monster Mash. Or actually, no, I remember what it was. It was when they ran the 6,000 win non wings because it was the non wings, modifieds, and midgets. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the day after the Kokomo Clash,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah, because we actually had skipped out Friday on Kokomo, which I'm happy we did because Kokomo this year was awful. I
Yeah, I,
literally I could not record until the sun went down because of how dusty it was and with where the grandstands are, where the sun was. Like I recorded the modified heat race, and I think I put a screenshot of it up on my Facebook because I had a couple people ask me why, like, oh hey, why didn't you record this early in the Kokomo Clash? I was like, that's why.
yeah. It
unless
was. I
unless you
remember.
just want to see like a big blob of a big blob uh go through dirt, that's what it would
Yeah,
have been. And I
I
was
remember.
like,
I remember seeing heat race videos from someone else, and I mean, it was definitely the worst I've ever seen Kokomo. I mean, usually that's an awesome racetrack, but this year
mm,
was kind of one lane around the bottom. I wouldn't have wanted to be there.
yeah, and yeah, and and it also took forever to get the races done, and it was like insanely cold. And I'm, as you can tell from how many races I record, I'm like always the last person out of the grandstands. I was very heavily debating going out to the car during the street stock feature because I was like I thought about getting a pit pass because I had seen a video from the other side and the pit grandstands was a lot better, but I didn't end up doing it because we actually did get that. We actually got there late too because we got a flat tire on the way to Kokomo. So we got there like the end of the late model heat races. We got there like right at the start of the final late model heat race. And then
That's
and then to top it off, I was so excited to watch Bob Gardner race. I missed his heat race, and then his transmission blew up second lap of the feature, so I got to
In
watch him
second lap of
run.
the feature,
Hmm.
which sucks because I remember watching the first part of that feature. He probably had the fastest car there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was
Yeah,
gonna win.
yeah, without a doubt.
And
Which
I was also angry because I bought this car specifically for Kokomo so I could get Mike to autograph it. He was on the list and then didn't show up.
oh no, yeah, you know that's funny. I didn't think nothing of that. I do remember seeing him on the list, and you say
Yeah.
that. Which I mean, obviously Spatola, bigger name than I am. I did that to everybody last year. I registered and didn't. I knew I wasn't going the day I registered. My car was sitting torn apart in the garage. But it's kind of fun, you know. To I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed because we had a lot of Butler people have troubles. I know Jerry blew the motor up the last points night at Butler, or I think it was actually the night before last points night at Butler. And then Clint Rockwell, he went to Butler, got his shit torn up, and then decided that he couldn't get it fixed before Kokomo. And then obviously you had your car done a while back at the season. And there's a couple other guys that didn't go that I was kind of surprised. Like I'd never seen like Travis Kyler, his son, go. Dwayne Morley, I haven't seen. I had figured one of these the years they'd go, but they haven't
I think
gone.
they will eventually. Take it. Going to those races is kind of risky. I don't want to
Yeah.
say. I mean, Kokomo especially. I've seen a lot of stuff get torn up at
Hmm.
Kokomo. I mean, you know, obviously this year was different. Most of the time, that place goes around the wall come feature time, and all it takes is that one little mistake, and your car might be junked.
Oh
I,
yeah, last year the four cylinders were literally running their rear ends up because there was like a mud wall, and they were literally running the rear ends up the side of the wall. And I think Corey Gum was leading last year and hit the wall wrong and completely broke his rear axle.
yeah,
And
that place
I
is.
think he was like the third person that got hit like that. And the way their pit entrance is, their pit entrance is kind of in a bad spot because the wall's not rounded. The pit entrance is literally just like the end of a brick wall. I saw a late model last year that just went like head first into it, and it just completely tore up the front end of that car. And I was like, because the way they have the pit entrance, it's like the wall, and then it's squared off, and then the other wall starting and it's squared off. So if you hit that dead on, you're gonna come to a complete stop
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah. Right now, it's yeah. That place is
That's
definitely.
my one thing that I would probably, because honestly, personally, I'm not a fan of completely walled in racetracks. I don't like completely walled in racetracks because I feel like, just personally, like I don't race, but I feel like if I did, I would much rather have the chance of like at Butler where you just drive over the edge and then drive over rather than drive and then smack the wall. I'd much rather take the chance at maybe rolling the car over a couple times rather than guaranteed smacking the wall and doing a lot more damage than there could have been.
That's give or take. I agree with that partially. I would say I wish Butler had a wall the night I rolled. When I
Mm,
before I left the track, it was partially turned. So
yeah.
if there would have been a wall there, I would have hit it with the right front, and it would have turned me sideways into it, and probably would have stopped me. And that
Mm,
never happened. Um, I say, even if it's not an actual concrete wall, but even if you just line it with some, you know, square hay bales stacked 5 or 6 tall, or
mm,
make like a stack of round hay bales, just something so to slow you down a little bit when you do leave the track, so it doesn't destroy stuff. Actually, it was Tim. I talked to him a few weeks ago, and he made a good point when he went down to Montpelier. You've seen where they line up down there to get ready to
mm,
go onto the track. If I would have rolled down there the same way I rolled at Butler, where was my car going to land?
mm.
Over there on
Uh,
top of all the ones
yeah.
waiting to go race.
Yeah, and
So
that was one thing. That was one thing with Mount Player is before I actually got access down to the infield, I would stand right over. They had like a spray painted line where like crew and people had to stand, And I was thinking, I was like, man, like what happens if one of these sprint cars just like digs in going around the corner and just flips straight back into the pits? Like there's literally nothing there that's going to stop it from going into the trailers and pitted cars and cars in the staging lane and all that stuff.
Yeah, so
Or like if one of them, like with my uncle earlier this year, I think it was, where he completely lost steering and went over the corner, and they've got like a little cement wall that is right there that I think was put there to stop like a scenario like that, to where if it goes over the corner, most cars it'll hit that and then stop. Except if you're a car like a sprint car will hit that and flip over, because I've seen tracks with stuff like that, and it'll literally hit, dig in the front, and then flip it over front ways. And there's always like 10 or 15 people standing there pretty much at all times.
right. Yeah. I mean, so I don't know. I think my walls can be good and walls can be bad. Um, I think some places a wall makes the racing better. For instance, usually Kokomo builds a cushion, and the bottom and the top are both good, and it usually presents a pretty good race down there.
Yeah, I would say with Butler specifically, more around 1 and 2, with how steep it is and then it drops off. That's a little bit worse than like over on 3 and 4, where I've seen cars that'll literally just go off and then roll out towards the parking lot.
Right.
So I think maybe it would be a good idea to put something over by 1 and 2, because 1 and 2, like especially if something like a sprint car or a 4 cylinder goes over that. I've seen more rollovers going over that than I have anywhere else on the track.
Right. It's funny, and I've only ever heard stories of this one. Guys like my dad and Tim would probably remember it way back. I want to say 90s. Sprint car driver Mark Steeman. I don't know if you've ever heard the name. Uh, he went off the top of 3 and 4 and rolled out into the parking lot and landed on the first row of vehicles parked on the, right by the fence. So wild stuff happens in racing, I guess.
Yeah, see, we always make sure me and my dad always make sure to park out. We bring the 4 wheeler, so we park out a ways, because I said the last thing that we need to happen is for a car or some kind of debris to fly off, hit our car, because we drive almost 2 hours, and I don't really want to get stranded 2 hours away from home in Michigan
Right.
on
Yeah,
a
that would be
Saturday.
good.
So we always make sure to park out. We actually have like our own little parking spot by a tree that we always try to get. We actually had to move earlier this year because there was a group of people that started coming halfway through the year that took our spot that would get there at like 4 o'clock, and we could never beat them. We got like we would literally there were some days that we would leave and get there at 5 o'clock, 2.5 hours before any racing starts, and they'd already be there. Just trying to get our tree back, and they'd already be there.
There's there's a lot of diehards at Butler. It kind of cracks me up. You pull in there with the car at, you know 3 o'clock even, and there's guys already got lawn chairs sat out by their cars, just chilling there, enjoying the
Mm.
sunshine, and
Yeah, that's how my grandpa is. My grandpa, he follows the summer nationals like this week, the week when it goes like Indiana, Michigan, where it goes like Montpelier, Shady Hill, Montpelier, Butler, Crystal, Oakshade.
right.
He'll follow that, and he'll get to the racetracks at like noon the next day and just sit out. Just sit out. He's got buddies that come, and they'll sit out from noon until 7 o'clock when racing starts. Cause
That's
I,
that's what it's all about, though. I wish some people. Yeah, that takes me to a totally different subject. Things like dirt vision or flow racing. Yeah, it's cool when there's a race hundreds of miles away from you, and you want to see
mm,
it, like the Gateway Dirt Nationals, for instance. Yeah, I'm going to turn it on the TV and watch it. But I also kind of say it takes the diehard out of the sport, because you don't get as many people that drive 5 or 6 hours away to go watch a race and tailgate for the first 3 hours before it even starts. So I like seeing people still do that.
mm.
People that are still into it that much and whatnot. It's kind of cool, but unfortunately, with the more things you get, or broadcasting networks, I guess I should say, like Flow and Dirt Vision are that's gonna slowly eliminate, unfortunately.
Well,
But
I like it to the point that like there's a lot of people like me. I can't with what I work. I can't get off for like Tuesday to Saturday to go to the Gateway Dirt Nationals. So on that note, that's kind of why I like having like Flow and Dirt Vision where I can get home from work and then just chill and sit watch racing on the TV. And it also makes it a lot more accessible to people. Um to people especially with like Dirt Vision that runs like the Summer Nationals that comes out and gives more exposure to tracks like Mount Pillar and Butler and Crystal that might not get it. Because I've told my parents, I said I would really like Butler to be able to land like even one, like I know they just got the high limit last year. I think it wasn't the Mace Thomas Classic, wasn't that All Star Circuit of Champions before High Limit took it over at Butler, if I remember right.
yeah, yeah, it was originally so High Limit originally was the All Star Circuit of Champions
Okay.
or something like that, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it became High Limit, and now I think I've seen there's like another All Star Circuit of
Yeah.
Champions, but
Yeah.
it's a smaller series than what it originally was.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
quite as big as what the All Star Circuit of Champions was because High Limit kind of took it over.
yeah,
And I think there was a lot of people surprised at how well High Limit competed with the World of Outlaws. Because I think for a while, people were just like the World of Outlaws is like the premier series when it comes to racing. But I think it's kind of starting to shift where you've got like the Lucas Oil guys that are starting to come over to like World of Outlaws shows or like the World 100 when every single person comes together. And I think it's a lot more competitive now, rather than just having one series dominate the whole space.
right.
And that's what I
And
like.
I agree.
I like seeing multiple series because there's a lot of drivers that I'm sure in the Lucas Oil that finish fifth, sixth, seventh, or even like fourth in points could go over and win the World of Outlaws. And it's the same with the World of Outlaws. There's guys that finish like lower top 10, mid top 10 that could probably go over and contend for the title in the Lucas Oil. But it's like they stick around because they want to do it in their series. And I think it gives us kind of like a mix to where we don't just have one winner at the end of the year. We've got three or four, especially now with like the Hunt the Front series. With the Hunt
Right.
the
And I
Front series
guess
getting bigger and bigger.
and I guess like a good example of what you just said, Bobby Pierce, he doesn't really run any series. He just kind of chases the money. So, one night you might see him invade a World Outlaws race, and the next thing a night later he's going to go run with Lucas Oil, or I mean, so it kind of, I think any of those guys could go win with any series. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many competitive guys in
Because as
that
much
world.
as I believe like Bobby Pierce could win Lucas Oil, I believe like Ricky Thornton Jr. or Jonathan Davenport, I believe that they could win on the World of Outlaws just as easily as Bobby Pierce could win on the Lucas Oil.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you put any of those guys on the same track and you're going to have some good racing no matter what. And I guess like you're going to see that this weekend at the Gateway Dirt Nationals. I mean, I'm pretty sure isn't Davenport there? I don't remember if I've
Yeah.
seen him register or not. Yeah,
Yeah. Actually,
Davenport's there. I mean,
there was a lot of people upset because Jonathan Davenport was one of the only drivers that actually didn't do a special wrap for Gateway. He's just running his regular.
which he didn't do one last year either. But that's
Which I
that's a
mean,
good one. But
I mean, he saved himself about $600 not putting a new wrap on just to get it tore off in practice.
I was gonna
So
say that kind of cracks me up because guys hang brand new bodies and go all out with these wraps, and then 5 laps into it around the wall, and you can't even read half anything anymore.
or get round off by somebody else. I've
Yeah,
seen
I mean
that
it's
plenty of
just
times.
yeah, it's funny the way those guys do that, but it is kind of cool to see them all. I mean, there's a lot of cool ones. I would say I've always had a thing for like pink cars. So obviously you got Rusty and Carter from up this way. They got some good looking cars. Bob Gardner.
Yeah, I think
I would say
I haven't seen Bob Gardner's yet. I missed his reveal live stream. I think I posted about Carter and Rusty's yesterday, if I remember. Yeah, I did. I did
and then
post about theirs because I was waiting for theirs. Because and did you see that Butler Butler sponsored Carter again. I know they sponsored him
Yeah.
last year and they sponsored him again this year.
Yep, I've seen that. Butler also, I want to say I seen him on whose ride did I see him on? Maybe Mannix's?
I think they are on.
I
I
think
think
he's
they
on
are on
Mannix's.
Mannix.
As well as Morley. Morley sponsored Mannix, Elite General Contracting, so that's pretty cool. That he's taken some of our local names down there with him.
Yeah, and
Back
I
to the
think Tim's
wrapping.
done a pretty good job at advertising Butler a lot more. I think he's done a really good job at getting it out there, especially with the social media and the merchandise.
Yeah, he does a killer job with the promotion and stuff like that. I've seen it in years past. Like I think he put a big Butler Motor Speedway sticker on Robbie Henderson's car
Mm,
for the Kokomo Clash. I don't
yeah,
know, a year or two ago.
yeah. Because
Um,
I think actually Robbie premiered on championship night, if I remember right, when he had like the
yeah,
big Butler on the side of the car when he moved the number to the back and had like the
yeah,
big Butler on both sides.
yeah. So they do a good job of the track promotion, and I would tell you right now, in the 4 or 5 years that he's had the place now, I would say the amount of people that knew it exists compared to the amount of people that knew it exists 10 years ago has grown by probably thousands.
Mm.
I mean,
And a little bit of a funny thing. About 6 months ago, um, I had noticed that I started to get on because I had thought about messaging Tim to see if I could get like down the infield after I did with the Milkman. But like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I was like, oh no, they probably still don't know who I am. But I looked back on my follows and I noticed that I actually had a couple Wilbers on my follow list. Like Nathan Wilbur followed me on TikTok. And I was like, ooh, I might be getting on the radar of the Wilbur family.
and it's funny you say that. Like I would say that most people knew who you were, or at least knew of you from the videos when you first started coming and recording. Because it's kind of a neat thing. Like I sit here and I'm kind of crazy about it. Like, oh, what could I do different, or where could I improve? Where did I make a mistake? And I'll sit
Mm,
here and I'll watch a video of one of my races for 3 or 4 hours straight until I can beat it into my head that, okay, this is what I did wrong, this is what I need to do different.
mm,
And it's kind of, one, it's kind of cool because you can go back and just rewatch it, but you can learn from them too. So it's kind of nice to have someone there every weekend, or at least almost every weekend, that records the races like that.
mm.
I know there was a handful of guys that used to do it in the past, and then I don't know if they just switched to a different
Yeah,
track or gave
I
it up
saw some of those
altogether.
on
But
YouTube. I watched some of those. I actually used to watch those to get to like figure out what I can do better and what they were doing. And that actually helped me quite a bit. And the thing I never realized until this year, I had never bought pit passes. I'd only gone back like when everybody left after the races because they really don't care if you go back after the final features is run and all the race cars are parked and everything.
right.
So we'd sneak back there and I'd talk to people. When I bought pit passes, and I don't like the thing crazy thing with me, I always bring somebody with me because I don't like walking the pits by myself. I don't know what it is. I just like having somebody to sit there and talk to while we're walking through. But the amount of people that I had come up to me that I didn't even know who they were. They were like, "Hey, are you guys does those videos?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I think the first time I bought a pit pass, I had like probably 17 or 18 people walk up to me in like an hour that I was back there. And it was kind of crazy cuz I'm still trying to adjust to like how many like I grew my Facebook page from 1,000 to 8,000 followers in like 2 months.
Yeah,
And
you grew enough.
I'd always felt like that my like the quality of my stuff wasn't growing as fast as my pages were. So there were like so many nights where I'd sit in my room on my computer for like 2, 3, 4, 5 hours studying like flow racing videos, studying other people that do. I watched a lot of Chase Holland with like how they edit their stuff together because I thought about doing some more stuff like that where I do like more like put myself more on there. Like if I go to a new racetrack, like document my experience at a new racetrack, stuff like that. Just to like branch out, so I'm a little bit more than just a little bit more than just like my race recordings. And I think I've done a fairly good job at starting to integrate more and more stuff like that into my content. And then obviously I brought this idea. I've been working on this, like getting like a podcast show together for like 6 months now, because I didn't want to just like hop straight into it. Like I've probably had like 40 or 50 hours of research done in the last like 6 months getting this stuff together. And I was also trying to figure out like who am I gonna have on, and just starting my search. Yes, my search yesterday. I've got you, Clint Rockwell, and Hunter Stafford all coming on today.
Pretty busy day then.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. Like, we talked about it or whatever, and then I woke up this morning. I'm like, holy shit, that's today. What the hell am I going to say? Like, what are we going to talk about? So,
Yeah, I still
like,
got to get a list together for Clint Rockwell because he wanted me to send him over some of the questions, so he has some good responses because he's. I learned when I did an interview with him in the pits, he's not very good at on the spot questioning.
it's tough. Like, when you put somebody on the spot, like, there's a lot of good questions that, I mean, I've had thrown at me just from people that are just curious, not even for a podcast
Mm-hmm.
or interview kind of thing. Um, I had multiple people ask me what my thoughts were, after the roll or during the roll, or
Mm-hmm.
was I scared to come back, and I always kind of gave them the same answer, like, well, for one, to be scared, you got to have a brain, and I think I lack most of one. So
Well, I think to get into a race car, you got to have part of your brain
yeah,
missing. I
yeah,
think.
you got to have a couple cells that are kind of wired up backwards, because it's something that's always got to be in the back of your head, though, that stuff can happen, and it's
Mm,
um I don't want to say I'm kind of an aggressive driver anyway, so I knew at some point eventually it would happen. I just didn't expect it to be that soon. Um, it is what it is. It's out of the way. I hope I don't do it again for a long time. That was for my first major wreck. That was a
mm.
pretty gnarly one. I was pretty sore for a solid week after that. And, about the time I was,
Oh crap! All right, sorry about that.
you're good.
It hit the
I
40
was,
minutes. It hit the 40-minute limit. I haven't upgraded to Zoom Plus yet because I wanted to wait until I started getting the stuff figured out before, because it's like 16.99 a month. And once I do
right.
that, I can have unlimited meetings.
It's funny you say
All
that. I gotta
right.
make sure my phone's not gonna die. I'm at 8%, so we got a little bit, or should
All
have
right. So
anyways.
what were you saying before it cut out?
Gosh, where was I? I don't remember now.
You were. I remember you were saying people were talking to you about the rollover, like in the pits and stuff. You were talking
Oh,
about that.
that's what it was. We had just got the thing back from Hinkley built. I think on a Friday. I had went and picked it up on a Friday, and came back and started putting it back together for Saturday. We were up most of the night, I would say. Probably I was up until 5 in the morning, and finally went in and got a little sleep. And I was back up at probably 9 o'clock, and went out and started working on it. And about the time I got it together and in the trailer and at Butler, we were I had to go to the drivers meeting. Well, everybody kind of knows once the drivers meeting's over, you're getting ready. Well,
Mm.
mine wasn't even out of the trailer yet. I think the Hinkleys were there racing that night. They came help me unload it. Jerry Mans helped me unload. We still had to put a brake line on it, bleed the brakes, and check some other stuff over before I could even race. So it was kind of like I didn't have time to think about it. And about my first few laps back, I was a little gun shy just to make sure everything was
Yeah, I
okay or
could. Yeah,
whatever.
I
And
could
then
tell. I could tell when you were first coming back, you weren't quite driving. Weren't quite driving like you normally did. And I figured I was like, yeah, well, he came back slightly quickly from rolling the car over. So
now,
obviously, most people would be a little bit nervous to get right back on it after you just barrel roll a car 7 or 8 times like you did.
well, I tell you, I was pretty sore after being up that late and then waking up early and getting the thing around. And then come feature time, I think I pulled off a few laps before the race ended because I mean the track was real rough that night.
Mm.
All the soreness that I had in that entire week I missed came right back. Like my neck, my back. I mean, you're belted in and you're pretty safe, but you're still kind of flopping around in there and there's a lot of strain on your body. I was even just the day after, like I didn't do nothing. I didn't even touch the car. Like I did a little bit when it came to tearing it apart, but most of my guys, thank God for them. My dad, Matt Flogger, his family, all were over here and had it tore apart for me. And I actually had the chance to have it back the exact week after that. Like Hinkley was all about it. He wanted to have it done so I could race the next weekend. And I was like, dude, I'm so sore. I don't want to race next weekend, man. Take your time. I think I even procrastinated taking it down there just so that didn't happen anyways.
Yeah.
So I mean, so yeah.
Which there was a lot of talk. I don't know if you had heard about it, but there was a lot of people that obviously knowing you're not one of like the most high dollar teams that rolls in with the stacker trailer like a couple other guys that come to Butler. A lot of people thought that you were going to be done for the year after rolling it over. And it looked pretty bad when I had I like immediately like cut my video and ran over back by where the pit fence is, and there was probably about 25, 30 people waiting for the tow truck because everybody knew where you were parked at, so they knew where the tow truck was going to come by at, and everybody was just sitting there waiting for the tow truck to come by to see how bad the damage was.
That thing was tore up. I would say the most of the body damage made it look worse than it did. Once we got it tore apart and looked at it, like obviously you can't really tell if the frame itself, like the main
Mm,
frame, is bent without having it on a jig, but it looked pretty straight. Really the worst part was the body and then the halo of the cage itself. So basically, like from my shoulders up, like that was pretty well destroyed. If those trees wouldn't have been there and stopped me and that car would have kept going over, it probably would have came off the car.
yeah.
Um, that was,
That's one good thing
but
about the trees is I feel like the trees are kind of underrated for stopping for stopping guys. Like there was a sprint car that went over that stopped pretty quickly once it got to the trees because the trees are pretty unmovable.
yeah, I do agree with that. Thankfully, I didn't hit the trees. He's got like a dirt mound that
Hmm.
goes pretty well the length of the backstretch. And I
Yeah.
don't know how, if you watch the video in slow mo, I think I have the slow mo version of it. It's like the rear end of the car hooked that dirt mound and just like tipped me so I was facing down toward the bottom of it. And that's where I landed.
Hmm.
So it was like, if that dirt mound wasn't there, I was definitely going to be touching the trees. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The dirt mound. I've definitely seen that across the backstretch. I've definitely seen that save a couple sprint cars and modifieds and four cylinders from getting out into the trees. Because then it's a whole lot worse to if it goes out to the trees because I think when the sprint car was there, it took them like 25 minutes to get it out from back behind the trees.
it saved my ass, that's for sure. It's I was so dizzy, like I wasn't even scared after the fact. I was just dizzy, man. I don't remember what it was. I think like a piece of the roof kind of like tweaked under and got like somehow above my helmet. And like the first thing I usually do is want to take my helmet off because it's kind of tight and you always get like kind of a claustrophobic feeling after any, even if it's just a little incident.
Mm,
Like, all right, I'm ready to get out of this thing now. Like you can't really move a whole lot, And
yeah.
the claustrophobia really kicked in when that happened, and I wanted to get out and I couldn't because I couldn't get my helmet off my head, and
Mm,
I know I wasn't getting out the window with it on. And the first person I seen was Tim come across the car. I was like, "Get this damn thing off my head! I want out of here." So that was, I mean, I had to stand outside for a minute before I even got in the ambulance just so I could walk straight. Uh, I mean, there are several people that counted at least 12 times the thing,
yeah,
flipped over in the air.
earlier I think I said 8 or 9 cuz that's what I had to remember, but I wouldn't have any doubt that it went over more than that.
Yeah.
That's just what I observed was what and estimated was about 8 or 9 times.
And like it's funny, I recommend anybody if you're a budget racer, obviously like when we bought the car, yeah, it's probably one of the better cars that was there, at the time we bought it. It still is. It's just, kind of a lack of me being patient and needing the experience.
Mm,
But, you know, just because we have that car doesn't mean we're not still budget, because I can't afford, all the updates that everybody else has gone to.
mm,
So if you ever do end up in a scenario where if you are a budget racer and you wreck your stuff and don't really have the resources to fix it yourself, Caleb Hinckley built
mm.
fabrication down in
Yeah,
Angola.
I think that's where Jerry took his car
Yeah,
after the 97 cut him down, and he like pile drive that cement thing with the megalifts on, and pretty much fucked up the front end of the car. Hinckley had it back to him in like a week or a week and a half. I think he only
yeah,
missed 1 week and he was back, or he might not have even missed a week. I think he might have even been back the next Saturday.
yeah. And I mean, I swear, I mean, that's the place to go. I mean, he's cheap. I mean, he could charge a lot more than what he does. Thank God
Mm,
he's kind of, he's a kind of a budget racer himself, I say. So, he kind of understands it. So he, he just kind of spitballs a price and you go, oh, that's not bad. I thought it was going to be $5,000 or $6,000 to fix our car. It wasn't anywhere near that. I don't remember the exact amount we paid, but I mean, he gave us a really good break and did a really good job. I mean, all my cage bars are thicker and and the car's actually a lot safer
mm.
now than I think it was before the accident happened. Um, and speaking of him, he's gonna redo all the body and stuff for me this off season. Actually, I'm gonna take it down there probably Friday, and we're gonna start on it. So I'm excited to see. He's a little more precise about things than I am, so I'm excited to see what he does to it and how good he makes it look this year.
Now, what actually ended your season? Because I know you came back like three. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then um, I care. I don't know. I probably remember something happening. I can't think about it. But what
So
was it
we,
actually that?
from the time we came back, we were battling some sort of a motor issue, and we never really
Do you think
could pinpoint what it
it
was.
came from the crash? The motor issue came from the crash. Do you think it was just a
So
motor issue that just happened was like happening before?
I'm gonna say it happened during the crash, because it wasn't like that obviously when the crash happened,
Mm,
and we had battled it, as soon as I got back to the track. So I'm gonna say it was something that got knocked funny, amongst that roll at some point in time. Um, so I think I came back and one night I ran fifth or fourth or something. I think I finished behind Bill Eversole, and I was trying to pass him for I think fourth or third or something. But the entire time I was back, I was running on like seven cylinders.
mm,
So I was still running top 10, close to top 5 most nights. Down on horsepower, spitting and sputtering, just out there sounding like an idiot. So I knew the car was still fast. If we could have got the motor issue figured out, there was still some pretty good hope for that season, but we just couldn't figure it out. And I always say some people dump every dime they have into it trying to figure it out, and then wonder why they go broke. And
mm.
at some point you got to say no. It's time to stop. We're just gonna pull it,
Just pull it
re-
and
rebuild for.
start working for next season. Because there's a lot of guys that I've found talking. There's some guys that will not give up on the season, even if there's only 5 or 6 weeks. Like talking to a couple guys, they said like obviously I want to race every week, but they said I'm also not going to dump $1 million into $1 million into my motor just to throw it all away and then end up having to get it, either having to completely rebuild it over the off season or have to completely get a different motor.
Yeah, it is tough, especially just being like a local weekend racer or whatever. There's a lot of guys that have the money or capability to be able to do that, but I mean, most of us, we're just there to have fun, and I guess you just, if you're having a bad year, you got to know when to say no and stop and just kind of regroup for the next year. And that's basically just where I got. We could have kept chasing it, and I, I just got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a season like that, it's kind of it's mentally kind of,
Kind of just one that you want to get past and start
yeah,
focusing on the
forget
next one.
forget about, and it's funny because after I parked mine for the year, I didn't even want to go to the place. I don't think I went back until the last late model show, the
Mhm.
Ironman series,
Yeah, and I
late
talked
model
to
show.
I talked to Jerry. I know Jerry had a whole bunch of like he just had something wrong every week, and he told me he said until he got it figured out, he was really close to just calling it quits on the season and working on next season. Like when he would sit out there and lead the race for 10 laps and then something goes wrong, wiring goes bad, something, and it usually most of the time it was just the smallest things that would go wrong, like halfway
Dude,
through the race. And
it is so tough.
there's a lot of guys that I see at Butler that I know, and from talking to other people that I know, if they had a better car, they would be one of the guys that would win every week. But they just don't have. They either don't have like the right setup, they don't have they don't have good enough equipment or whatever it is a lot of people discount people because they finish in the back, but I know quite a few guys that are really good drivers that finish in the back because they don't have the money to go buy like Dylan Newsbomber, Robbie Henderson, or my uncle that have like a 20, 25, $30,000 motor to go out and win every week.
And like a motor is crucial at some
Mm-hmm.
places. You go to Butler, and I don't really think horsepower matters as much as it does for like if you go to Montpelier. Um, Butler's kind of a dry slick around the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. That takes patience and a lot of finesse and footwork. Like it took me forever to learn. Like I'm on the brakes just as much as I'm on the gas, just to keep the car underneath me and keep traction. And
Mm-hmm.
if obviously if my car wouldn't have broke and I could have ran all 20 nights, I probably would have been replacing my rear brake pads every 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, and one thing also surprised me with Tim taking over the place. Um, I think I see a lot of series that go on like Dirt Vision and stuff with like high limit summer nationals. Like some of these local tracks get like hung out on the clothesline by people that sit at home and watch because they're used to watching like Eldora, Knoxville, places like that have like really high budget track prep, and they're like, oh man, that track's so crappy, it's a piece of crap. And I've never really seen with like the high limit and the Valvoline late models and the summer nationals. I've never really seen those comments made about Butler. It always seems that Butler always makes a good enough track for people like that to. All right, sorry about that. I ran
All
to
right.
grab a drink and use the bathroom while I had that small break.
Oh yeah, you're good.
All right.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen too. I don't know why Zoom drains my phone battery like that. I was at like 40 when we started. I thought that would have been plenty, but
Yeah. Well, we've been on for just over an hour now. Is how
it
long my
really,
recording is.
it really don't seem like it.
No.
Hopefully, you're gonna like edit the background so it doesn't show the change of scenery 3 times or whatever.
But so do you got any plans for next year that you're planning on doing? I know you said you were planning on going around a little bit. Got any tracks in mind that you're trying to hit up?
I kind of want to go down and master Montpelier a little more. I had a lot of fun down there. Like I said, I was just kind of my first time being there. I was out of shape. Man, I think in my heat race I had Tony Anderson, who's probably one of the faster guys there. If not, actually, he won the feature that night. I hung with him for like the first 3 or 4 laps, and then I just got winded, and 2 cars in front of me left. But I had something for him for about the first 4 laps. If we would have had a caution,
Mm,
you know, every 2 or 3 laps until the checkered flag, I might have had something for him. But when they're pretty all pretty clean racers down there, so there was no chance of that happening. After a handful of laps, I was just riding around.
mm.
So I'm gonna go down there a handful of times and get used to driving on the shorter tracks. I think
Pla-
obviously
are you
Butler
gonna
here and there.
planning on taking your talent to Kokomo? Trying to take your talent to Kokomo next year?
If we're still together when that one rolls around, I would
No,
like to run that one. Obviously the Monster Mash. The other track I think I'm gonna hit up for sure is Shady Hill. They have some
I want to go to
pretty
Shady Hill sometime next season.
they have quite a few thousand to win street stock shows or super stock shows. Is what they
Mm,
call the class down there. Um, the other one, obviously, if I'm together for it, is the I-96, the street stock blowout, and then
mm.
Crystal has, or I don't know if they're going to do it again this year, but last year they had a where they opened up the street stock rules and anybody could come. I would like to go to that if I can. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to run for points this next year as of now. I guess we'll see how my opening night goes
Are you
at Butler.
I know a couple of other guys I've talked to are thinking about going up to Matt Tiffany racetrack at the start of the year because they're running a fairly a fairly big street stock race at the start of the year. I can't remember what it's called. I'm thinking about trying to get up there because I think they run. I think their opening night is the week before Butler usually has theirs, so I might go up there for that. It's about a 3.5 hour drive from our house.
Where is that at?
It's Mansfield. It's in Ohio. I
Oh,
know.
Mansfield, Ohio. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know where you're at.
yeah.
They usually, yeah, pretty high.
I'm thinking about
We'll see
trying
if
to
the
get up
cars.
there.
We'll see if the car's done. It's funny you say that. I watched that on Flow, and at the beginning of last year, I think it was on. It was either Flow or Dirt Vision. I don't remember, but we watched it, and my dad kind of made the comment about it. Oh, why aren't we there racing for $1,000? The car's done. I go, it ain't got stickers on it. So what? You don't need stickers to race, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
so
You don't. I've seen plenty of unstickered cars come to Butler. come to
now this is
Butler.
this is true. So
I've
we'll
seen.
see. If it's done, we might do something like that. I don't know. It's been a thought. It's been talked about. We'll see. I don't know.
There was
Well,
that one week that there was an unstickered modified with duct tape numbers that came and beat up on everybody. I remember. I think it was like June, like in June, an unnumbered, or it was like a duct tape numbered. Like it looked like it was a brand new car. I actually found out it was. It was when it was Matthew Baker. I found out
yeah,
why because I saw a video of him rolling his car over at the start of the year at Kokomo. So that was a brand new car, and it came up and was beating up on everybody. Except I think he got like a flat tire late in the feature, running second.
yeah. I remember seeing that. I think maybe it was. I watched that race through one of your videos. I believe. I think that was because that was kind of toward the end of the year.
Mm. Yeah, that's why I started doing mine is because I kind of got I kind of in my headspace I was kind of thinking like I could be like Flo that um it'll be there for people that either can't make it, like some guys maybe they get stuck at work until late and won't be able to um make it there in time. Like I know a couple guys around my house that like to go up there, but sometimes they'll get stuck at work until 4 or 5 o'clock and then can't make the drive up there in time, and couldn't make it there until like the heat races were already over. Or I had a couple of drivers that said like their grandparents would watch that couldn't get up because they didn't want to get sick or didn't want anything to happen, couldn't be out that late, stuff like that. And I'm thinking next year I might skip out on Butler a couple nights. I was like super scared of doing that this year, before like earlier in the year, because last year when I went to tracks other than Butler, my videos really didn't do very well. But once I started going to like Mount Pillier, um, a lot of the guys like they kind of like took me in just like Butler did, where I'd talk in the pits and they'd message me for videos and clips and all that stuff. So now I think I have a lot more confidence, and the videos from the Monster Mash did really well. So I think I got a lot more confidence to go outside of Butler next year. So I'm probably gonna, like you said, go to like Shady Hill. I want to try to go up to Mansfield. I want to go back to Lima. I didn't go to Lima like hardly at all last year, and I really like going there because they don't really keep us out very late because we got like a 2 hour drive up there. Most nights we'll be home by like 12:30, 1 o'clock. They'll get done around 10. We'll stop and get food and everything on the way home. But
Yeah, that's the other thing that amazes me is a lot of other tracks. They don't mess around. They get their shows over pretty quick.
mm,
I remember before Tim bought Butler and he was still racing. I used to go to I-96 with him. When he raced up there, and you could be done racing there, loaded up and home by the time you would be leaving Butler.
mm,
And that was just kind of amazing to me because, you're almost 2 hours away from home and you're still getting home at the same time no matter what. So
Hmm.
it was always interesting to see
Yeah,
how well coordinated other places are, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
and I learned very quickly to change my availability at work because there was a stretch when I first started recording that I would go to the racetrack, get home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and have to be at work at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. So I made sure once I started actually like full committing to this, I think I put it to where I couldn't work before like 3 p.m. because I was like, man, I don't really feel like going to work on 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours of sleep.
Right?
Along because most of the time I wouldn't even like my night wouldn't even end when we got home because a lot of the time I would work on videos when I got home. I would work on videos and pictures and stuff, and I wouldn't go to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, yeah, that's you're always really quick about having like you've got the first couple of videos posted like the Sunday after racing,
Mhm.
and usually they're all out by Monday or Tuesday. I mean that
And this
you
time
know all
I've
that.
started to try to stretch them out a little bit, so I can like have because that's one thing I learned about Facebook is Facebook will start recommending yourself if you post every day. So I started like doing like sprint cars Sunday, modified Monday, street stocks Tuesday, four cylinders Wednesday, and then I'd post like individual races and like all of the races together. I
Right.
kind of slacked on posting like the full ones. I was kind of just posting them individually. I need to get back on top of that next year. Um, Especially now that I have an actual computer. Now that I have like an actual computer that I can work with, it'll make it a lot easier to get stuff uploaded because my phone uploaded stuff so freaking slow. And hopefully, with my plan right now, um, I'm gonna actually get like an actual camera to record some of the races. I'm still gonna do some with my phone, um, but I'm hoping that I can get some camera recordings done. And I'm hoping to get down in the infield a couple times next year with Butler because now I know I can get in there pretty easily in Montpelier. Now I just got to get down there with Butler and a couple other tracks.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
thinking, I'm thinking about seeing if I can do the impossible and get a media pass to the Gateway Dirt Nationals next year and go down to St. Louis next year. But
that would be a cool one too. That's funny. I was getting ready to bring this up. I don't remember the name of the channel that does it, but yeah, I do. Speedway in car cams or
mm,
something like that. I think is the name of him. That's something you should do at Butler. Is just get a if
that's kind of what I
can
was
get a
thinking.
GoPro.
That's kind of what I was thinking about. And that's one of the big reasons I took up the partnership with Angry Duck is just because just to get more income flowing into my stuff so I can do a lot more stuff like that.
It would be cool. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that would let you
Oh yeah,
throw a camera in their car. I mean,
I've already got about six of them that said that they'd be down to do that, and that might be something that I work on doing um over the winter. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to have a couple of them by May or June, but I'm just working on trying to figure out more ways to monetize my stuff because like the camera that I'm gonna buy for recording is like a week and a half of my regular paycheck from my normal job. So it's definitely taking me a little bit longer to get it than I anticipated originally.
right? Yeah,
But
I could imagine.
I've had a lot of success really quickly with my Angry Duck stuff. I think I've already sold almost $500 worth of merchandise in like 2.5 weeks of 2.5 weeks of having my store up.
That's not bad though. I mean, that's a short
Mm,
amount of time for.
yeah, I think last I looked, it was somewhere in like 300. But I'm thinking about getting like buying some in bulk and doing like we're talking with Tim Wilbur and doing like what a couple of drivers did and setting up a thing at the racetrack, because I know a lot of people don't necessarily like ordering stuff online. So I figured I might do that just to give some more people some options of like not having to order online.
Right.
But
Which
all right,
I think through Angry Ducks you can do
yeah,
the online, and they can do
hmm
send you some bulk, but
yeah. All right, well, we're about out of time on this call. Is there anything else you want to say, or anybody you want to shout out, any social media platforms or anything like that?
honestly, when it comes to the whole racing deal, I thank my mom and dad. I love them both to death. They're right on the bandwagon with me, support me every week. Um, Obviously, all my sponsors. I don't know if I can list them all off the top of my head. I hope to have most of them back next year. Thanks
Hmm.
for having me on the show.
And also, I had one more question that I forgot to ask. I had heard it around. Is the car that you have, is that a Swan? Is that an Eric Swan car?
So yes, it's
I
his
heard it was.
2022 championship car. So it's the same. There's the white one Tim had the
Hmm.
year before in 2021. He won his last street stock championship in it, and then it is the car Eric Swan drove in 2022.
I
Yes.
thought it was. I don't know what they do with them, but I don't think I've ever seen a slow car made by Eric Swan.
I'll
I
tell you what. That if you can get a medieval chassis and then have Eric Swan put his hands on it, you better buy it up while you can, because they're one bad fast hot rod. I mean,
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and I'll definitely bring you back on in the future,
all right.
especially during racing season. I'm gonna hope to do some more of these during racing season too, just to like talk about like mid season updates.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm willing to do it anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Yep. See ya.
See you later.